The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Meridian Hotel cast fractured rainbows across the ballroom floor. Emma Thompson stood at the entrance in an emerald gown that clung to curves she had forgotten she possessed. Her auburn hair fell in waves around bare shoulders. The silk felt foreign against her skin after years of wearing comfortable cardigans and defeat. James stood across the room, surrounded by men in expensive suits. He laughed at something an investor said, his hand gesturing confidently. He had not noticed her yet. He never noticed her anymore. Rachel squeezed her hand. "You look stunning. Go remind him what he's been ignoring." Emma's heels clicked against marble as she moved forward. Heads turned. Conversations stuttered. A waiter nearly dropped his tray of champagne. Then James saw her. His glass froze halfway to his lips. His eyes widened, pupils dilating as they traced her form from head to toe. The color drained from his face, then rushed back twice as dark. "Is that your wife?" one of the investors asked, admiration dripping from every word. James could not answer. His jaw clenched so tight Emma could see the muscle jumping beneath his skin. A younger man from James's own company approached her, hand extended, smile too warm. "Mrs. Thompson, you look absolutely radiant tonight. May I get you a drink?" "That won't be necessary." James appeared beside her so quickly the investor stumbled back. His hand clamped around Emma's elbow, fingers digging into soft flesh. "Emma, we need to talk. Now." He dragged her toward a private alcove behind a marble pillar. The moment they were hidden from view, James released her arm and stepped back, his chest heaving. "What the hell are you doing here?" Emma lifted her chin. "Attending a charity gala? I am your wife, aren't I? I told you this was business. You told me I wasn't needed." The words came out sharper than she intended. Sharper than she had spoken to him in years. There's a difference. James raked his hand through his perfectly styled hair, destroying the careful arrangement. "You can't just show up looking like that and expect looking like what, James? Like I matter? Like I exist?" His eyes flashed with something dangerous, possessive. "Every man in that room is staring at you. Funny." Emma's voice trembled with 8 years of suppressed anger. "This morning you said I looked neglected. Worn out, that I was an embarrassment to your image. Now you're angry that I tried to fix it? That's not what you said. I needed to take better care of myself. So I did." She gestured to her dress, her hair, the makeup that made her feel human again. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" James stepped closer, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "What I wanted was for you to improve yourself for me. Not to parade around like you're available." The words hit her like a physical blow. Emma felt something crack inside her chest. Something that had been fracturing for years finally splitting clean through. "Available." She laughed, and it sounded broken even to her own ears. "James, I've been available to you every single day for 8 years. I've been waiting, hoping, trying. You're the one who made me invisible." His hand reached for her again, but this time she stepped back. "Mrs. Thompson?" A voice interrupted them. A man Emma didn't recognize stood at the edge of the alcove. Silver hair, expensive watch, kind eyes that looked at her like she was worth looking at. "I'm Marcus Westbrook. I couldn't help but notice you across the room. You have extraordinary presence." James moved between them instantly, territorial. "She's my wife." Marcus smiled, unbothered. "I can see that. Mr. Thompson, you're a very lucky man." He turned his attention back to Emma. "I'm hosting a gallery opening next week. Contemporary art and champagne. I would be honored if you attended." He handed her a card. Heavy stock paper, embossed lettering. "She won't be available," James said through clenched teeth. Emma took the card. Her fingers were steady, even though her heart was racing. "Actually, I'd love to come." Marcus's smile widened. "Wonderful. I look forward to it." As he walked away, James grabbed Emma's wrist, pulling her deeper into the alcove. His face was inches from hers, his breath hot against her skin. "I'm not playing anything." Emma pulled her wrist free, red marks already forming where his fingers had been. "I'm just done being invisible. You want attention?" James's voice was low, dangerous. "Fine, you have my attention now. But don't think for 1 second that you can just what? Exist outside of your shadow? Have a conversation with someone who actually sees me. He doesn't see you. He sees an opportunity. Every man in there is circling like sharks, and you're too naive to realize it. Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. The only thing I'm too naive about is you. I spent 8 years thinking if I just tried harder, loved you better, made myself smaller, you would finally look at me the way you used to. But you know what I realized today? She took a step closer, her voice breaking. You don't want a wife? You want a ghost? Someone who exists only to serve your needs and disappear when you're done. Well, I'm not disappearing anymore. James stared at her, something flickering in his eyes that might have been fear, or maybe just anger. If you walk out of this alcove and talk to another man tonight, there will be consequences. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. The moment everything changed or stayed the same forever. She turned away from him and walked. Back into the ballroom, the orchestra swelled. The chandeliers blazed, and Emma Thompson, for the first time in 8 years, felt alive. Behind her, James watched, his hands clenched into fists. His world tilting on an axis he could no longer control. The mansion felt different when Emma returned after. Midnight, colder, darker, or maybe she was just finally seeing it. Clearly, she found James in his study, a glass of whiskey in his hand. His tie loosened, his jacket discarded. He looked up when she entered, and the raw hunger in his eyes made her breath catch. You danced with 4 different men tonight. Emma set her clutch on the side table. You were counting. The entire room was watching you. He stood, moving toward her with predatory grace. Do you have any idea what that was like? Seeing other men touch my wife? Your wife. Emma's laugh was bitter. This morning I wasn't worth your time. Tonight I'm suddenly precious to you? James reached for her, his hand cupping her jaw with surprising gentleness. You looked like a stranger, like someone I'd lost. You never had me to lose. James, you had a housekeeper who shared your bed sometimes. His thumb traced her lower lip, and she hated how her body still responded to his touch. 8 years of conditioning was hard to erase. It's not true, isn't it? Emma pulled away from him, creating distance. Tell me the last time you asked about my day. The last time you actually listened when I spoke. The last time you looked at me like I mattered? James's jaw tightened. I've been building an empire. Everything I've done has been for us. No, everything you've done has been for you. I was just supposed to exist in the background, grateful for the mansion and the cars and the life that feels like a beautiful cage. Emma Marcus invited me to his gallery opening next Friday. I'm going. The glass in James's hand shattered. Whiskey and blood dripped onto the hardwood floor. He didn't seem to notice. The hell you are. You don't get to decide that anymore. James closed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hands gripped her shoulders, his eyes wild. You're my wife. Mine. Do you understand that? Then act like I am. Emma's voice broke. Act like you want me here. Act like I'm more than just another possession in your collection. Something shifted in James's expression. The anger cracked, revealing something raw underneath. He pulled her against him, his bloody hand tangling in her hair. I do want you. God, Emma, I've always wanted you. Then he kissed her. Hard and desperate, and nothing like the perfunctory kisses she'd grown used to. This was hunger, need, years of distance combusting in a single moment. Emma's mind screamed at her to push him away, but her body responded, melting into him despite everything. His hands roamed her back, pulling her closer, and she tasted whiskey and desperation on his tongue. When they broke apart, both breathless. James rested his forehead against hers. Don't go to that gallery, please. For a moment, Emma almost gave in. Almost let herself believe this moment of passion meant something had changed. Then his phone rang. James stepped back, already reaching for it. The spell broke. He glanced at the screen, and Emma saw his expression shift back to business mode. I need to take this. Of course you do, he answered the call, turning away from her. Harrison, thanks for calling me back. Emma stood there, watching him pace the study, discussing investment portfolios and merger opportunities, still bleeding from his broken glass. He had completely forgotten she existed. She walked upstairs alone in the bedroom. Emma sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out Marcus Westbrook's card. The paper was thick between her fingers. She should throw it away. Should delete his number from her phone. Instead, she sent a text. I'll be there Friday. Thank you for the invitation. The response came within seconds. I'm already looking forward to it. Sleep well, Emma, used her name. Not Mrs. Thompson, not James's wife. Just Emma. She clutched the phone against her chest, feeling something dangerous blooming in her heart. Not love, not yet. But possibility? The terrifying, intoxicating possibility that she could exist as herself again. Downstairs, James ended his call and realized Emma was gone. He looked at his bleeding hand, at the broken glass on the floor. At the empty space where his wife had been standing, he picked up his phone and made another call. I need you to find out everything about Marcus Westbrook, everything, when he finally went upstairs. Emma was already in bed, her back turned to his side. He slipped under the covers, reaching for her. Emma! She didn't respond. Didn't move. James pulled her against him anyway, his arm locked around her waist, possessive even in sleep. He buried his face in her hair and whispered words she pretended not to hear. I won't let him have you. I won't let anyone take you from me. In the darkness, Emma's eyes stayed open, staring at the wall. Feeling the weight of his arm like chains, she thought about Friday, about the gallery, about a man who looked at her like she was art worth studying, and she thought about the choice that was coming, the one she wasn't sure she was brave enough to make. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the city, pregnant with rain that wouldn't fall until morning. The Westbrook Gallery was all white walls and soft lighting. Contemporary paintings hung like prayers waiting to be answered. Emma stood before a massive canvas of fractured mirrors, reflecting distorted faces. Seeing herself in every broken piece, the artist calls it fragmented identity. Marcus appeared beside her, 2 glasses of champagne in his hands. She painted it after her divorce. Emma accepted the glass. I can see why. Marcus studied her profile instead of the painting. Your husband didn't come with you. He had meetings. He's a fool. The words were simple, but they landed like an earthquake. Emma turned to face him, and up close, she could see silver threading through his dark hair, laugh lines around his eyes. He was older than James by maybe 10 years, but carried himself with easy confidence instead of aggressive ambition.
Oh.
You don't know him? I know men like him. I used to be one. Marcus sipped his champagne. Before I realized that empires built on neglect eventually crumble. Is that what happened to your marriage? Among other things, he gestured to the next painting. Walk with me? They moved through the gallery, and Marcus told her about his ex-wife, about the years he spent building wealth, while his marriage disintegrated. About the moment he woke up and realized he'd won everything except what mattered. Now I collect art instead of companies, he said, stopping before a painting of a phoenix rising from ash. It's more honest. Artists pour their souls into their work. Business is just strategy and ruthlessness dressed up as innovation. James would disagree. I'm sure he would. Marcus turned to face her fully. Emma, why did you really come tonight? The question caught her off guard. She looked down at her champagne, watching bubbles rise and break on the surface. Because someone invited me somewhere. As myself. Not as James Thompson's wife, or a trophy or an accessory. Just me. Marcus's expression softened. You deserve to be seen, do I? The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Maybe James is right. Maybe I did let myself disappear. Maybe I'm weak for letting it happen. You're not weak. You're trapped. There's a difference. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from James. Where are you? She silenced it. Marcus noticed. You should probably go. Probably. But neither of them moved. The gallery had cleared out just the 2 of them, an artwork that spoke of pain and rebirth. Music drifted from hidden speakers, something slow and melancholy. Dance with me, Marcus said. There's no dance floor. There's space. That's all we need. His hand extended, palm up, offering. Emma looked at it for a long moment, knowing that taking it meant crossing a line. Not physical. Not yet. But emotional. The kind of intimacy that couldn't be undone. She placed her hand in his. They swayed in the empty gallery, his hand on her waist, her head resting against his shoulder. He smelled like sandalwood and old books. Nothing like James's sharp cologne. This felt like comfort, like coming home to a place she'd never been. I can't do this, Emma whispered. Then don't. But his arms tightened around her, and she didn't pull away. That's when she heard the door slam. Emma jerked back to see James standing in the gallery entrance. His face carved from stone, his eyes blazing with something beyond anger. Something volcanic. Get your hands off my wife. Marcus stepped away calmly, raising his hands. We were just dancing. You were touching her. James crossed the gallery in long strides. I asked you a question earlier this week, Westbrook. I asked what your intentions were with my wife. James stopped. Emma moved between them. Nothing happened? Nothing? James's laugh was cruel. He pulled out his phone, swiping through screens, then thrust it at her. Then explain these. Emma's stomach dropped. Photos. Dozens of them. Her and Marcus in the gallery. At a coffee shop she didn't remember visiting. Walking through a park she'd never been to. Photoshopped. Manipulated. Lies. These aren't real, aren't they? James's voice was ice. You've been meeting him behind my back. That's not true. Tonight was the first time you expect me to believe that? You, who's been texting him all week? Emma's blood ran cold. You've been reading my messages. I've been protecting what's mine. Marcus stepped forward. Thompson, you're clearly not thinking straight. Whatever you think is happening, James's fist connected with Marcus's jaw before anyone could react. The older man stumbled back, blood trickling from his split lip. Emma grabbed his arm, horrified. He spun on her, and for the first time in their marriage, Emma felt genuine fear. You made me do this. You and your need for attention. Your need to humiliate me. Didn't humiliate you. I existed. There's a difference. You're coming home now. I'm not going anywhere with you. James grabbed her wrist, yanking her toward the door. Emma struggled, her heels scraping against polished floors. Marcus recovered, moving to intervene. Let her go. Stay out of this, old man, Emma. Marcus's voice was steady despite the blood on his chin. Do you want to leave with him? The question hung in the air. Emma looked at James, at his white-knuckled grip on her wrist, at the man she'd married, who had become a stranger. Then at Marcus, who had shown her kindness but whom she barely knew. I want to go home. Something broke in Marcus's expression, but he nodded. If you need anything, anything at all, call me. James dragged Emma to his car, shoving her into the passenger seat. The drive back to the mansion was silent, tension so thick Emma could barely breathe. When they arrived, James finally spoke. I know you've been planning to leave me. Emma's heart stopped.
What?
Rachel. Your dear friend Rachel. She told me everything. He turned to face her in the darkness of the car. About how you've been opening separate bank accounts, looking at apartments, consulting divorce lawyers. The betrayal hit Emma like a physical blow. Rachel, her best friend. The only person who knew she didn't. She did. Yesterday, she came to my office, very concerned about your mental state. About how this Marcus's situation might be a breakdown rather than an affair. Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes. You're lying. James pulled out his phone again, showing her a video. Rachel, sitting in his office, speaking earnestly to the camera. I'm worried about Emma. She's not thinking clearly. She talks about leaving, but she has nowhere to go, no money of her own. I think she's having some kind of crisis. She needs help, James. Professional help. The video ended. Emma sat frozen, watching her world disintegrate. Rachel called me after you left tonight, James continued. She's been keeping me informed for weeks. Everything you told her, every plan you made, I knew about it. Why would she? Because she knows what's best for you. Because she understands that walking away from this life would be a mistake. You can't come back. Emma's hands were shaking. Rachel, the one person she had trusted completely. We're upset right now, James said, his voice softening into something almost tender. But you'll see. This was all for the best. You'll forgive me for the photos, for overreacting tonight, and you'll definitely forgive Rachel. She was just trying to protect you from yourself. He reached over, cupping her face, wiping away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. We can start over, Emma. Fresh. I'll try harder. I'll be better. Just promise me you'll stop this nonsense about leaving. Emma looked at her husband, at the man who had orchestrated her betrayal, who had turned her best friend into a spy, who had manufactured evidence to make her look guilty, and she realized with crystal clarity that she had never truly known him at all. I promise, she whispered. James smiled, relieved. He kissed her forehead, then got out of the car to open her door like a gentleman inside the mansion. He poured them both wine, talking about couples therapy and date nights and all the ways they would rebuild their marriage. Emma nodded in all the right places, smiled when appropriate, let him hold her when he needed to feel like he'd won. But inside, something cold and certain was taking shape. If she couldn't trust Rachel, couldn't trust the evidence of her own eyes, couldn't even trust her own plans, then she would have to become someone else entirely, someone James would never see coming. That night, as he slept peacefully beside her, Emma stared at the ceiling and began to plan her real escape. This time, she would tell no one. This time, she would disappear completely. 3 weeks passed like a careful dance. Emma played the role of perfect wife with practiced precision. She smiled at James's investors, attended his business dinners, let him believe she had surrendered. But in the quiet moments, she was planning. The offshore account was untraceable, opened with money she'd been hiding for years from her freelance editing work James never knew about. The apartment was rented under a false name. The new identity documents were expensive, but flawless. She told no one. Not Rachel, whose texts she answered with cheerful lies. Not Marcus, whose gallery card she'd burned. Trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. The morning of her escape, Emma woke before dawn. James slept soundly beside her, one arm thrown across her waist. She studied his face in the dim light, trying to remember when she had loved him. If she had ever truly loved him, or just loved the idea of being chosen by someone like him. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Emma reached for it carefully, using his fingerprint to unlock it while he slept. What she found made her blood run cold. Messages to Rachel. Dozens of them. But these weren't about concern for Emma's well-being. She's being so good now. Thank you for your help. The account you opened in Emma's name, make sure it's ready. Once she's committed, we can move forward with the plan. Emma's hands trembled as she scrolled further back. Her heart stopped at an audio file sent 3 months ago. She pressed play, volume low. Rachel's voice. I hate doing this to her, James. You're not doing anything to her. You're protecting her from making a catastrophic mistake. And I'm her husband. We both want what's best for Emma. She's not well. You've seen it. The paranoia, the mood swings. If she tries to leave, she'll end up homeless, destitute. We're saving her from herself. What about the offshore accounts she mentioned? I'll make sure those disappear, along with anything else she's been hiding. When this is over, she'll see that she needs me, that she's always needed me. Rachel sighed. I still think this is wrong. Then why are you helping me? A long pause. Then Rachel's voice, small and broken. Because she can't afford to leave you. Because I know what it's like to have nothing. And because you're paying me enough to finally open my art studio. The recording ended. Emma sat frozen, the phone clutched in her shaking hands. Rachel hadn't betrayed her out of concern. She'd betrayed her for money, and James hadn't been trying to save their marriage. He'd been systematically destroying any chance Emma had of leaving. She looked at the sleeping man beside her and felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a vast, empty cold. Emma opened his banking app. The passwords were saved, arrogant in their certainty that she would never dare to look. She found the account marked ER Investment, Rachel's payment. $300,000. Then she found the account marked Emma Trust. The money he'd been siphoning from her freelance work, meant to trap her when she tried to run. Emma transferred both accounts to her offshore location. Every penny. Then she found the fabricated evidence from the gallery, the photoshopped images, and the contact information for the person who created them. She sent everything to her own email. Insurance James stirred beside her. Emma carefully placed the phone back on the nightstand, her heart pounding. "Morning," he mumbled, pulling her closer. "Morning," she whispered. He kissed her neck, his hands roaming with the confidence of a man who thought he'd won. Emma let him, played her part one final time, and hated herself for how easily the performance came. Afterward, James showered while Emma dressed. She heard him humming, happy, victorious. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I know you're planning to leave. Don't. There's something you need to know about the night at the gallery. Meet me at Riverside Park. Noon? Come alone. This is about your safety." Emma stared at the message. Another trap? Another manipulation? She should ignore it. Should stick to her plan. Leave tonight, while James was at his business dinner. Disappear before he realized his accounts were empty. But something about the message felt different, urgent, real. She texted back. "Who is this?" The response came immediately. Someone who knows what James is really capable of. Someone who's been where you are. His first wife. Emma's world tilted. First wife. James had told her there was no one before her, that she was his only marriage. Another lie in an ocean of lies. She looked at herself in the mirror, at the designer clothes James had bought her, at the jewelry that felt like chains, at the face she barely recognized anymore. Then she made a choice. She would go to the park. Not because she trusted the message, but because she was done being blind. Done letting other people control her story. If this was another trap, at least she would see it coming. Emma grabbed her coat and left the mansion, not bothering to leave a note. Let James wonder. Let him worry. The park was nearly empty, autumn leaves crunching under her feet. She found a bench overlooking the river and waited. A woman approached. Older than Emma by maybe 15 years, elegant in a way that came from survival rather than money. Her eyes were haunted but steady. "Thank you for coming. You're his first wife. I'm Catherine." She sat down, maintaining careful distance. "And I need to tell you something that might save your life. I'm listening." Catherine's hands twisted in her lap. "James doesn't just want to control you. Emma, he wants to destroy you. Systematically, methodically, until there's nothing left. I already know he's manipulative. It's more than that." Catherine's voice dropped. "When I tried to leave him 8 years ago, he framed me, made it look like I'd embezzled from his company. I spent 2 years in prison for crimes I didn't commit. By the time I got out, I had nothing. No reputation. No money. No life." Emma's blood turned to ice. "No, he erased me." Catherine pulled out a folder from her bag. "I spent years collecting evidence, proof of what he did. But no lawyer would take my case. He's too powerful, too connected." She handed Emma the folder. Inside were documents, emails, testimony from people who had been too afraid to speak up when it mattered. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you're going to try to leave him. I can see it in your eyes." "The same determination I had?" Catherine's voice broke. "And when you do, he'll come after you. He'll use everything you love against you. He'll turn everyone you know into weapons. I have evidence too. I found messages. Proof of what he's been doing. It won't be enough. Trust me." Catherine leaned closer. "But I have a way out for both of us." A reporter who specializes in exposing powerful men. She's been investigating James for months, but she needs someone on the inside, someone he still trusts. Emma shook her head. "I can't. I need to leave today. Before he realizes what I've done. What you've done." Emma hesitated, then told her. The transferred money. The stolen evidence. The escape plan. Catherine's face went pale. Oh God, Emma, you have to leave. Right now. When he finds out, Her phone rang. She looked at the screen and her expression transformed into pure terror. It's him. He knows you're here. How could he possibly? He tracks everything, everyone. Catherine stood abruptly. You need to run. Now, don't go home. Don't go to your apartment. He knows about all of it. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from James? Having a nice chat with Catherine? I'm disappointed, Emma. I thought we were past these games. Come home now, or I make some calls that will destroy both of you. Catherine grabbed Emma's arm. Listen to me. There's a safe house. A place he doesn't know about. Take this address. She shoved a piece of paper into Emma's hand. The reporter will meet you there. She can protect you. But you have to go right now. What about you? I'll be fine. I've been running from him for years. Catherine's smile was sad. But you have something I never had. You have his money. Use it, disappear, build a new life. Come with me. I can't. I have a daughter. He doesn't know about her. If I run now, he'll start looking for her. Catherine's eyes filled with tears. But you can stop him. You can make sure no one else has to go through what we did. Catherine, go, please, before it's too late. Emma looked at this broken woman who had survived James Thompson's cruelty and lived to warn her. This stranger who was offering her a choice: run and save herself, or stay and fight and risk everything. Her phone rang. James. Emma looked at Catherine at the folder of evidence, at the address crumpled in her palm. Then she made the choice that would change everything. She answered the phone. I'm coming home. Catherine's face fell. Emma? No. But Emma was already walking away, her mind racing with a new plan. A better plan. One that required her to become someone even more dangerous than James. She would go home. She would apologize. She would let James think he'd won. And then she would destroy him from the inside. No more running. No more hiding. This time, she would fight, even if it cost her everything. James was waiting in the foyer when Emma returned. His face was calm, but his eyes blazed with barely contained fury. Behind him stood two men in dark suits. Security, or something worse. We need to talk. Emma set down her purse slowly. I know, do you? He gestured to his office. The men followed them inside. Because I'm not sure you understand the severity of what you've done. Emma sat in the leather chair across from his desk. The same chair where countless business deals had been sealed, where lives had been bought and sold. You took my money. I took your money. Rachel's money. The money you stole from me. Emma's voice was steady. I also sent copies of everything to 3 separate law firms with instructions to release the information if anything happens to me. James's jaw clenched. You're bluffing, am I? Emma pulled out her phone. Should I call them and confirm? One of the security men moved forward. James held up a hand, stopping him. What do you want? I want a divorce. A quiet one. I keep the money I transferred. You keep everything else. We both walk away. James laughed, cold and cruel. You think it's that simple? After what you've done? I think it's exactly that simple. Unless you want Catherine's testimony to become public. Unless you want the world to know how you framed your first wife. How you've been systematically abusing and controlling me. Catherine is a convicted felon. No one will believe her. Maybe not. But they'll believe the forensic accountant who traced all the money. They'll believe the digital expert who proved those photos were fabricated. They'll believe the journalist from the Times who's been building a case against you for 6 months. Emma leaned forward. Did you really think Catherine came to warn me out of kindness? She's been working with that reporter, collecting evidence, waiting for someone to come forward from the inside, someone you still trusted. James's face went white. You're lying. Call her. Ask her yourself. Emma smiled, and it felt like power. But you can't, can you? Because you destroyed her phone records, erased her existence. You were so thorough in your cruelty that you created a ghost. And ghosts make excellent investigators. The security men exchanged glances. James noticed, his control slipping. Everyone out. Now, the men left. The door closed. James and Emma faced each other across the desk, 8 years of marriage reduced to this moment. "What happened to you?" James asked quietly. "Where's the sweet girl I married?" "You killed her." Emma stood. Slowly, methodically, with every dismissal, every cruel word, every time you made me feel like I didn't matter. She died a little more each day until there was nothing left but this. "Emma. My name is Emma, not Mrs. Thompson, not your wife. Not your property. Just Emma." She moved toward the door. "The papers will be ready tomorrow. Sign them. Take the deal. Because if you don't, everything goes public. Your business, your reputation, your freedom, all of it gone." James stood, moving around the desk. "You can't do this. I already have. I'll fight you. I'll destroy you." Emma turned back, and in her eyes was something James had never seen before. Not fear, not submission, but certainty. The kind that comes from having nothing left to lose. "You've already tried to destroy me. For 8 years, and I survived." She opened the door. "Now it's your turn to find out what that feels like." She walked out of the office, out of the mansion, out of the life she had built on sand. The reporter was waiting in a car at the end of the driveway. Catherine sat in the passenger seat, looking older but somehow lighter, free. "He'll sign." The reporter asked. "He'll sign." Emma slid into the back seat. "He has no choice." The car pulled away. Emma watched the mansion shrink in the rearview mirror until it disappeared completely. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "I saw the news. Are you safe?" Emma smiled. Not everything had been a lie. Not everyone had betrayed her, she texted back. "I'm safe, and I'm free. Thank you for seeing me when no one else did." Response came quickly. "Coffee sometime?" "No pressure. Just 2 people having a conversation. I'd like that." The reporter dropped Emma at a hotel downtown. Different from the safe house. Different from anywhere James would look. Catherine squeezed her hand before she left. "You did it. You actually did it. We did it." Emma held her gaze. "Thank you for being brave enough to come back. Thank you for being brave enough to finish it." In the hotel room, Emma stood by the window watching the city lights. Her phone rang. "James." She let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. Again. Finally, she answered. "What?" "Please." His voice was broken, desperate. "Please. We can fix this. I'll change. I'll be better. Just come home." For a moment, Emma almost felt sorry for him. Almost believed that somewhere inside the man who had systematically destroyed her was the person she'd once thought she loved. Then she remembered Catherine's haunted eyes. Rachel's betrayal. The years of making herself small. "There's nothing to fix, James. We're done. I love you." The words should have meant something. Should have touched the part of her that had waited 8 years to hear them with conviction. Instead, they felt empty. Too late. Meaningless. "No, you don't. You love owning me. There's a difference." She hung up. Blocked his number. Blocked Rachel. Blocked everyone connected to the life she was leaving behind. Her new phone arrived the next day. New number. New identity. New beginning. The divorce papers were signed within a week. James didn't fight. The evidence was too damaging. The threat to Real, Emma kept the money. Not because she needed it, but because she had earned every penny by surviving him. She bought a small apartment with a view of the park. Started freelancing again under her own name. Began rebuilding herself from the ground up. Marcus met her for coffee 3 months later. They talked for hours about art and books and what it meant to start over. No pressure. No expectations. Just 2 people who had survived their own wars, learning to be human again. "Do you regret it?" he asked as they walked through the gallery where it had all begun. Fighting instead of running. Emma stopped in front of the painting of the phoenix. The one Marcus had shown her that first night. Rising from ash, reborn through fire. "She said. Running would have been survival. Fighting was living. She turned to him, and in her eyes was something new. Not the broken woman James had tried to create. Not the naive girl she had been before. But someone forged in the fire of betrayal and sacrifice. Someone who had stared into darkness and chosen light anyway. "I'm not looking for someone to save me," she told Marcus. "I already saved myself." "Good, because I'm not looking for someone to save either. Maybe we can just be two people figuring out what comes next." "Maybe we can." They walked out of the gallery together, into autumn sunlight that felt like promise. Emma didn't know what the future held. Didn't know if Marcus would become something more, or just a friend, would witness her transformation. But she knew one thing, with absolute certainty. She was Emma Thompson. Not the woman James had tried to destroy. Not the ghost Catherine had become, but someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who had learned that the only prison you can't escape from is the one you build for yourself. And she was finally, beautifully, devastatingly free, somewhere across the city. James sat in his empty mansion, surrounded by wealth that meant nothing without someone to control. His phone stayed silent. His empire intact, but hollow. He had lost the only thing he'd never learned to value. And Emma had gained the only thing she'd ever really needed herself. The end.